Hi guys, Bernhard Geberger from TANGO Racing, or in this case it should be more TANGO Touring. So this is about my new baby, the KTM 890 SMT. I jumped the video about the new bike, which I've got for 1.5 months ago, and jumped directly to a 5,000 kilometer review video. There are plenty of videos of a new SMT out there by many way more experienced motorbike users and reviewers. I thought I will give you my experiences with my SMT after a first long tour. So I did 5,300 kilometers on the SMT, on the brand new one. And I found a few good things, some not so good things. And I thought I will share this with you. First, maybe why the SMT to begin with. I was looking for a large, strong touring bike. Next to my KTM 890R, which is basically tuned for the racetrack. I wanted one for long tours to be more comfortable, but also on the sporty side. So initially I was thinking of GS. Everybody's riding GS, BMW GS for touring bikes, long distance touring bikes. I tried it and I immediately understood it's not for me. I'm sorry, GS riders. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't get along with it for various reasons. Next, I tried the Ducati Multistrada, a very powerful, strong, and expensive bike. In the end, I was not really convinced by the performance. I also disliked a few things, and for the price point, I just wasn't convinced. Then I thought, okay, for my sporty expectations, maybe the KTM 1290 Super Adventure is going to be the right. And again, I was not really convinced. It's very powerful, but in the end, it's if you really ride it hard, it's quite how to say. You have to work to ride it hard, so you feel that it's heavy. Most of all, I had problems with the brakes. It's a strong system, but still, I'm used to brake with only one finger. On my KTM 890R, one finger is just enough to brake into stoppies from any speed. And on the Super Adventure, I need to use 2 or even 3 fingers to have really good braking power. So I'm not used to that. Everything took much more force than I'm used to, and I was not much faster or any faster than with my 890s. So the KTM dealer suggested to try the SMT. I didn't had it on my. I didn't think of it at all. I'm not a supermoto rider, but thinking of my user profile, when I'm touring, I do 90-95% asphalt tarmac road, and only maybe 5% off-road and gravel roads. So it makes sense to have a sporty bike, or rather sporty bike than a hardcore enduro bike for me. And this is what the SMT is all about. So when I started to test ride it, I was immediately basically hooked. It feels like a more comfortable version of my 890R, but handles basically the same. Extremely easy to handle. Compared to the huge enduro bikes, it's so much easier to ride. You can be much faster, flick it around. And since it's also much lighter, you don't even feel that the performance is significantly less than the huge bikes. So there are only a few moments where you wish you to have more horsepower. If I could make a wish, I would say 130 on this kind of machine would be perfect. But it's out. The advantage is that it's so much easier to ride. So in the small roads where I want to have fun, this thing is superior to any big endurance bike there is. Especially also because it has the small sporty 17-inch wheels, front and rear. Additional advantage, it's the same on my 890R, the same wheels, so I can use the same tires for the SMT as well as for the 890R, which is a huge plus for me. And it's true that it feels really, really, really good on these small roads. on huge, straight, fast roads. Yeah, you would like to have more power. But I mean, also with this bike, you go 150, 160 kilometers an hour like nothing. And I mean, where can you go faster and still be not completely illegal? So as far as touring is concerned, I'm perfectly happy with this bike and the performance. And another huge advantage, and maybe we start to go into the details, it was that I can switch the shifting here into a GP or a reverse shifting. I'm used to it from my 890R, which is tuned for racetrack. And I was looking for a touring bike where I can shift it as well. And here, different to the all huge endurance bikes, it's possible with all the BMW GS, the Multistrada, and also the KTM Super Adventure. It's impossible to switch the gearing or switch the shifting. So with this, it's possible with a little tweak. Originally, it's not. So it's not a feature like with the 890R. In the 890R, you have this in a manual that you can switch the shifting. Here, it's not. And this plastic cover is a little bit different. So it has this plastic knob here, which prevents you to put the lever here from this position, which is the original one, to this one, which is the shifted, the exchange shifting. So originally, this part is going down there, and this lever is going here. And if you put this 180 degrees to the other side, you have reverse shifting, but it's blocked by this notch here. So in order to have this shifted, you need to change this cover at all, so make a completely different one, or cut this notch, or use some spacers to put the lever up more to the outside to get the clearance for this notch. So I don't know why they did this. Doesn't make any sense to me, because mechanically there's no reason at all not to have this reverse shifting functionality. I believe it might be a marketing thing, so there are versions they can have a reverse shifting option by stock, and the touring one is not supposed to have that as a feature. So a bit weird, but I could switch it, and I'm super happy to have the reverse shifting now on my 890 SMT. I have also the KTM Scott oiler installed. It works very nice. I just had to decrease the flow to basically the minimum. Otherwise, you have oil all over the wheel. But like this, it works very nicely. Preload adjuster. A word of the suspension. I use with this basically full traveling loadout a setting front and rear between sport and standard setting. So sport setting is five clicks, and standard is about 15. I think I use like 7-8 clicks front and also on the rear, and preload almost all the way down, so as hard as it goes. I think I don't like the bike to sit too much to the back, so I like it more front wheel oriented. So having more preload gives me that. And I just found it sad. You can adjust everything by hand. You don't need any tools for the suspension. Here the front fork, preload. You have this gear. Just for the yeah, it's down there, and you need the normal flat screw to, I don't know if you see, it's really hidden at the base of the rear shock to make the rebound. So that's a pity that nobody has a better solution than you have to find a long screwdriver to make that setting, to change that setting. Everything else you can do without any tools. So that's a pity that there's one thing for which you do have to have a tool, which is a long screwdriver, which you don't normally have. Bodywork. I didn't like this white cover at the rear, as you can see. So I had this painted black, and when I had painted that black, you saw that the front part, which initially it looks like glossy black from the stock bike, but it's like a grayish plastic part with a stick on it. And compared to the black paint, this really looks bad. So I had this painted as well, and now I can play around with the stickers on it. But I like this much better than the original one. I will add some orange more, and I will lose and get rid of the white peak. I've ordered a carbon fender, but it's not available yet, so it's still the white peak. As you can see, this is not a blink blink Instagram video. I left the bike on purpose like that, so you see this is what it looks like when you actually use it. I rode 5,000 kilometers on it now, and yeah, this is how it looks when you actually use it. I got rid of the original windscreen because it didn't do anything. This is the adventure shield plus the additional one. I'm rather tall, so I want good wind protection, and this does actually work very well. I have additional lights installed, then the massive handguard, with the aluminium brackets, so a bit sturdy in case there's like a little crash, to have better protection. At the moment there's the video camera, but I will have a GPS solution installed. I had problems with the mobile phone. Fun fact, I just had I filled up the tank, and it says originally 15 point something liters, and I put in 16.1, so either the gas station is scamming me or it's a bit larger than the manual says. Speaking of manual, fun fact, there are a few major errors in the manual. They mention when you put it in sport modes, the ABS is deactivated. This is not true, obviously. And they call the non-ABS supermoto ABS, which is, well, it's not supermoto ABS, it's just no ABS. So it's off, that's it. Speaking of the luggage, I choose those because somehow, for some reason, I went for the design and thought it looks better than the regular aluminium touring bags. And yeah, I found out I'm not a big fan of them. So for various reasons. First of all, with this hump, they actually became so bright. I mean, this wouldn't be too bad, but this adds like almost 50% of width left and right. So in total, this thing becomes like huge. Like, it has a fat ass. I'm not used to that. I'm rather a sporty rider. If I fit through with my handlebars, I go through normally. And that's not possible with these biggies in the rear. So I will get rid of those side suitcases, and we'll have a luggage roll installed here instead. And also details you maybe not notice when you just look at them. I found out they are not nice to use. So since this is also stylish, there's hardly anything you can grip on to actually push this in. And then when you manage to push this in, it's really hard to open the upper lid. So it's impossible to do this with one hand. You have to use two hands, which by definition is not only not possible if I want to put something in, because I have something in my hands. So it's a small thing, but I found it's really bothering me. These things are hard to get in and out. And also when you open this handlebar, since it's so integrated, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a sharp edge. So it hurts already if you carry this empty. If you have this with full luggage, without hand gloves, it's impossible to carry this. It's really hurtful. I mean, it sounds weird, but it really hurts your fingers. So they look good. They're just super unpractical. So I would not buy those again. And they're quite expensive, so you go with it. Also, of course, by definition, it limits your lean angle. So I found out that on the left one, which at one moment, I don't know if you see this on the video, but I scraped this thing here. So I can say that the suitcase is touching the road first before the foot pegs. So that's something I found out. And tires, I've done now 5,300 kilometers, and tires are they hold up until now, but now they are gone. The light is not too good now for this kind of. Does it change the? Not really. Maybe you see a bit here now. Yeah, you can expect 5,000 kilometers of sporty ride. Like, I mean, sporty, you know. And then that's it from the Michelin GP. Tires front is a bit better, but I have to change them now. Otherwise, brakes went perfectly fine, engine went perfectly fine. I had two weird electronic problems. So far, there's also no solution for this. It's only happening when the engine is running. So when I use the left indicator, without engine, I think it's not coming. But when the engine is running and I use the left indicator, and it's only the left indicator, first it starts normal. After some time, a warning lamp is coming up. It may take a little, but it will come up eventually. The other strange thing I can mention meanwhile, you can configure quick settings for the lower and upper cursor, and I have my lower one on heat grips, which is also working, but the upper one I have for riding modes, and it's not working. And I configured this like 3 times or 5 times. It works for like a couple of days and then suddenly it stops. I don't understand why and how, but the upper one is not working. And now you see the warning light for when I use the left indicator. So it's not the warning light on, it's just the left indicator. And for some reason there's this warning light coming up, like if I would use the emergency indicator where all 4 indicators are lighting. So I don't know why so far KTM didn't come up with a solution. So that's the only 2 things which I found are a problem with this new SMT, on my new SMT. Luckily I can still use it, so I'm looking forward to have this resolved with a 15,000 kilometer service. Other than that, engine wise everything's fine. Few things I'm not a big fan of. I know that KTM is super proud of its new dashboard design. To me it's all about getting to what I need to change as fast as possible without getting distracted or losing too much time. So I want to spend my eyes on the road. I'm going fast enough and it's dangerous enough, so I don't want to watch my dashboard doing whatever. So now when I want to change settings, they have this this animation going on, which is almost a second. So when I press, until I can change anything, it's about a second I have to wait. The same when I get out of the menu, it takes a second to have the dashboard installed back. So if they want to go with fancy pictures and animations, I don't need them, but try to make it in a way that you don't slow down the process all over. So in my 890R, I press and I'm in the menu. There's only a list of items. I click and it's set, and that's it. It's not fancy, but it's fast. So now I have to watch animations and the loading of some pictures. I don't care at all. and I'm bothered that I have to wait a second for this, because traveling 100, 150 kilometers an hour, a second to wait for the dashboard to come up and check if I can change something is not something I want to do. So that's one. And then you have these fancy animations and pictures. And I know most of the people, I think they are happy with that. I'm not. And the reason is, first of all, it takes longer to load than it used to. So I press, I have to wait. I press again to get into the riding modes. And instead of having a list of riding modes, I have this picture and only one setting, which is the current one. And then normally I would expect this to be sorted from slowest to fastest. So rain, street, sport, and track. But it's not. So we have street, and I never know if I have to go up or down to be faster or slower. So I would expect rain to be down, but it's sport. So it goes from street, sport, then rain, and then track. And that doesn't make any sense. Also in the other direction. So street, when I go up, it's track. So where's sport? Then it's rain, and then it's sport. So this is a small detail, but I'm changing this while riding, and I don't want to press and look what is coming, and I never know, do I have to press up or down to change to faster or slower riding mode. I want this to be sorted, so I understand when I press down it's going to be rain. If I go up, it will be sport, and more up it will be track, or the other way around, but sorted so I can expect and understand where to go. This is like random, and it's really bothering to find the correct setting while riding. So speaking of settings, also a fun fact, there are some major mistakes in the manual actually. Several times it's mentioned that when you change to sport ride mode, ABS is deactivated, which is not correct. So if you switch to sport mode, ABS can still be on. So I usually use supermoto ABS, which is all confusing. It's not supermoto ABS, it's just no ABS. So that's another marketing thing. So you can go to sport, but still have ABS. So in the manual it says if you switch to sport, you deactivate ABS. That's not correct. And also, there's not the supermoto ABS, it's just no ABS or ABS. So another thing. And also the settings for the suspension. In the manual, there are different settings given than here underneath the bench. So also this is not consistent. I don't know really why. Yeah, but it feels a bit weird. Speaking of suspension, with this loadout, I run between the sport mode and the standard mode. Sport is around 5 clicks on the front fork. I use 7 to 8. And the preload adjuster, I run almost all the way closed, so 11 turns. That's more than suggested, but I guess I like it to be more oriented to the front wheel and not sitting too much on the rear. So giving more preload raises the rear and put more pressure to the front, which I kind of prefer. And the rebound adjustment on the rear shock, it's really hidden very well down there. You can hardly see it because there's also a cover on it over it. That's the only thing I find really sad with the suspension. They have this nice preload adjuster here. You can change the front shock with the hand, which is very easy. But then, well, if I change the suspension, I also have to change the rebound of the rear shock. And for that, I need a really long, flat screwdriver, something you typically don't have with you. So that's I find a pity that you have to have this. Speaking of the chair, I'm 1 meter 86 tall, 87. So for me, it's always a bit too low. I ordered the rally seat, which is higher, but it's also more narrow and very hard. So I found it very uncomfortable, and I had to switch back to the original one, which proved very comfortable. I had it raised by 2 centimeters, custom made. I still would like it to have it a bit more higher, but it's okay, and it's very comfortable. So I rode 9 to 10 hours a day, and it was perfectly fine. So that was a good thing. So maybe this was interesting for you if you have an SMT or you plan to buy one. What to look for, and what you like, what you dislike, and let me know in your comments. Oh, we got a visitor here, so he's interested, or she, in the bike as well. Yes, that's for now, and I wish you all the best. Sun is going down here in lovely Austria, so with that view, have all the best, and safe ride. Bye bye.